There we go, this time with audio. So I'm Greg, the creator of Superhero Coding, and we are continuing our one game a month series where I am live streaming development of one game per month with 45 minutes give or take each week. And there will be occasions where it'll be pre-recorded, but even when I do that, I'm going to show the whole process. I hate tutorials that cut out bits and pieces that you cannot follow along with completely. If you want to follow along completely, you can. Otherwise, you can go to superherocoding.com and get the first week's code for free. You can get the assets and code for other weeks very, very inexpensively during the current month. After the month, price goes up. That's how it works. Superherocoding.com, sign up on the email list, and let's jump into the code. Actually, before I do, what we're going to do this month, what we're going to do this week, what I'm going to do this session is going to refine some of the mechanics. The way I'm not happy with the way that the blocks move, the ground moves underneath, and I think we're going to add a little bit of randomness. And maybe if there's time, give the scene a little more atmosphere, tweak the graphics a little bit. So that's the goal for today. We'll see how far we get. And I'm just going to go ahead and switch over into Unity. Here is where we left off last time in Runner 05. And this is basically what we have. We've got coins coming through. At that point, after that happens a couple of times, then there's no more coins coming through. I don't like the way this pops. So we've got some tweaks we need to make. It's all right. Know how to make them all. First thing I'm going to do, though, I'm going to duplicate scene 05 and go to F2 to rename it and call it 06. Then double click that to make sure I'm there. All right, so the first thing I really don't like is the way the floor moves. If you watch this, when it gets to a certain point and it resets, it's kind of janky. What I think I'm going to do instead is, so what I really want is this to be doing its thing when it gets to the edge here, rather than the middle. So you can't technically just move a pivot point in Unity the way you can in Cinema or Max or many 3D programs. But what you can do is you can make them a child of something else. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create empty parent, I guess. And we're going to call this floor holder. And now this is going to be key. All these things now can actually, they could all be children of floor holder. I'm not going to mess with all of that. Key thing I want to do, though, I want to copy this obstacle move and wrap component and click those three dots, and I'm going to paste as new. So copying it from here and pasting as new here is going to keep the all the stats, the move speed, the max Z, and the min Z, and all that. And then, of course, I want to remove it from here. I could just disable it, but I know I actually want to move it, so I'm going to do that. So what that allows me to do, and I'm going to, let's turn that off because I want this thing working right. So let's, so the main thing I'm going to do first, if the pivot of the main point is here, I'm just gonna, I clicked the Y to get into that top view, and then I used my middle mouse button to move the scene around. Now I'm going to now go to the floor, and I'm going to move this whole thing where it lines up with that. So now I know that basically the whole thing is pivoting around that. What that does, now if I move floor holder a little bit, and let's say we're going to start there, what I can do now, we'll just keep that off to -10. So I know that I want my min Z And if I go back into this mode and put that again at the bottom, I can look at the Z and I go, okay, here Z is minus 10. And if I move the whole thing, see, all the way through, then, and now I'm looking back at the Z again, minus 48. So maybe at minus 45 or minus 40 even, it resets. So I want that to be minus 40. And if I've got multiples of them, then, you know, I don't have to be exact. So I know I'm going roughly, I want this to, let's try that. That's probably going to be, so the max Z will again be where this kind of starts. And so if I've got several of them, somewhere up in here around 80 or something like that. Let's do that. So that's going to come through. It's going to come through there. It's going to come through there. I like that better. I think that works a little bit better. And so I'm going to do the same thing again here. I'm going to create an empty parent. And then with that parent, I'm going to move the parent to be basically at the end of where this one is. For a little bit, just so I can see. There-ish. And I know 0 is where that actually needs to be. So that's the end of the previous one. So that's where I want that, and I want this to come back maybe with just a tiny little bit of overlap. And then I'm going to need to, again, basically copy, this time I'm going to copy it from here, and I'm going to paste it as a new component. So that's also going to be floor holder. So that should, I guess I'm going to need that one to start back a little bit more. Try that. One of them is moving faster than the other. Oh, because it still has this. That, then they both move at basically the same pace. I think maybe I need a third one in there if I just really want to keep the whole thing going 1-to-1. I mean, I can always close the gap, but it's not bad. So let's see. If I duplicated this again and I put another one in there, maybe that is a little bit longer. So I'm in play mode. I'm just duplicating this just to see. And if I take this floor, now I don't want to stretch everything on the floor. If I just go in and start moving things around, it is going to jack up all of the stuff. But let's see that it's there, that's there, it's there. So there's a little bit of a gap, but really not much. It's pretty close to what we want. So let's do that. So this one's at minus 10, this one's at 30, which tells me this one should be at 70 because we've got a distance of about 40 on each one. Probably just tweak these just a little bit to pop in at 75 or something. Just move these out a little bit. Okay. Guess I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna do all these. I'm gonna take all these child objects and move it up here. So still want floor there, but all these other objects I don't want to be children. And that way, if I do that, then that will allow me to scale this out a little bit like I want. Scale the last one just a bit. And actually, I guess I'll move the lanes as well. So lanes should still be part of floor 1. because if we scale the floor, we do want that to scale with it. And if I just move these up just a touch, like to 42, of course, the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Let's see if that works. So now we have a constant thing. Popping, one of them is popping a little bit early, and you can see the gap is disappearing. We can fix that though pretty easily. The easiest fix for that, like the ridiculously easy fix for that, is going to be to move the camera and the player up just a tiny bit. So if I just a hair. So let's say move it from -10 to like -7. So I'm moving that +3. Same with the character. So he goes from basically -5 to -2. Might be too much. Something like that. So now we're here, we're there, we got the movement. You can still see a little bit of a gap. It's okay. So let's just take all three of these and just make them. Oh, if I do 44, then we have complete coverage, 100%. And it still pops in at the end. That's okay. I don't mind that. It's not my favorite, but I don't hate it. What we can do is we could do, I don't want this to be like a whole 3D thing. What if we did, oh, the donut when I need it. If we did a cube or a sphere or something, or I mean, really like a cave or something down there would be optimal. And then that way it would all just be coming out of the cave. As it is, it's above the horizon. Everything looks a little funky because it's above the horizon. But what we can do is I'm going to delete that. That was the old one. That was the bad thing. Pretty much kind of want to take everything and either move the camera up. That's probably a bit much. Move everything. It's not going to affect anything. So I'm going to grab all these things, kind of move them down a little bit. So that is better-ish. Now, and I could have some more that are popping out further out, because at this point I could take another one and put him out at 100, and another one and put him out at 130, and then stuff's gonna, oh, I'd have to tweak the other stuff. Yeah, that's fine. All right, just delete that. Getting too in the weeds on that one thing. Don't want to do that. So what I want to do is grab my drink. Next thing I want to do, let's see, let's pop here for a second. Hot bar in the inventory. Killer ice. Is not something I'm doing right now. These tutorials are building one game a month for the sake of. So respond back to chat. Can't on my current live stream. Sorry. Sorry, I'm new to the streaming with comments. All right, back in here. So, all right, what we want to keep doing, we're getting things better. Still not super happy with how they are, but I still think it's a whole lot better than it was. This. So I'm going to have to angle the camera down or we're not going to back, but that still moves the horizon more. So I'd have to move this up and down more, and I really need my own horizon on there. You know, let's just run with this. It's a little funky. That's okay. So am I. That, good enough for now. So we are currently collecting, we're sort of collecting coins. We have coins that are showing up. We've got a thing that says we're passing through the game cube. So we need to make a manager, a game manager. And I'm going to duplicate that and come out to here. So click that. So we need to make a game manager. So this code says we pass through blah, blah, blah. And if it is a coin, if it's the player, then we want to make a note of it. So this should be tagged with the player. I'm going to make a new script. Script called Game Manager. Double click that. And so first we need to actually keep up with a score. Public int current score equals 0. Start current score 0. We're going to have a function here that public void add to score public so that it can be accessed from something else. Points. Current score plus equals, which is a short way of saying current score equals current score plus how many points. So then over here, so we need a reference to the game manager once we put that on an object. So I'm going to make an empty, call it game manager. And put it 0, 0, 0, drop it up here. Game manager script on it. Can't do it because there are errors. Shouldn't be errors. So let me save it out again. Back over here. All right, game manager's there. Current score is that. So the problem is that all the coins, and there's a bunch of them, need to be able to tell the game manager what's going on. And I'm just going to make that private because we're not using an extra game object target to rotate around right now, and I don't think we need to. Now, a lot of times what I will do is I will make a public game object IGM for game manager. And if you've just got one, it's real easy to take that one and drag that there. Actually, I want that to be game manager. You can do a game object as well, doing game manager, and then when you drag it in, it's going to make a reference to that specific script, that specific component on that object, rather than just grabbing that object. There's the object, there's the script. But we don't want to have to do this with every single thing. Now, what you can do. And again, you don't want to do this if you've got, you know, thousands of coins. Equals actually game object with capital G, find game manager. This is gonna be terrible. So game object GOGM, that, and then my GM equals, it's terrible. GoGM dot get component game manager. So it'll work. This isn't the best practice, I'll tell you why. If you've got a lot of them, so game object find works, you know, until you rename your object. It works, but it's kind of computationally expensive because it's got to look through everything in the scene and find the one called game manager. Again, if you change the name of that, they all break. And then we are getting a component, getting a reference to that component here and storing it here is also not super fast computationally. And what that can do, if we had thousands and thousands of coins, it could delay our start. In practice, for the 20 objects we have, or 100 objects, or whatever, it's not going to matter. I hit play, and then it starts, and all the coins have a reference to the game manager object up there, which is what we want. There's events and stuff you can do. If you've got a lot of objects that need to find one, it's a better way of doing it. And I could even pop this in awake if I wanted. It's probably a better practice. Because awake happens before start happens. So basically think of it like start happens when you see the game firing up after you hit play, and awake happens between when you hit play and when the game actually starts. So, but doing it this way, it's not terrible if you've got a small amount of things. It's not. And there are other ways too that you can offset this. But for now, it works okay. So we're going to run with that. And so the other thing we need to do is we pass through blah, blah, blah. If other game object compare tag, and the tag is player. Then we want to GM, add to score, and let's also do this. Public int point value equals 5. So public, so it shows up in the inspector. Integer, that's the name. This is the default value. So all those coins that we already made, we don't have to go and assign a default value. If we just did this, we would. But with that, when I alt tab back over, it's going to set that default value for all those objects at once. I'll say point value. And I'm just doing it this way so that I can have some other objects. Maybe there are certain objects that are bigger or smaller, or different colors, or faster, or whatever, and they have a better point value. So in addition to saying, hey, we passed through blah, 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 if the tag has of what we just passed through matches player, then we call the game manager, add to score, point value, do that. The other thing we want to do after add to score is we want to debug log and say current score is how many points. Now, in all of the previous lessons, all the previous month's lessons, I have gone over a UI and displaying everything on screen. I'm probably not going to do that this time. I think there's more tweaks I'd like to make to the actual game rather than just the UI. But we're going to run with that. I think it'll be all right. So the key thing is letting it know that it hit, that it happened, that we got the point. And probably turn off we pass through player cube. There's too many debug log statements will absolutely bog down your game, and it'll do it sooner than later. Especially if you put it inside of update. There are occasions where you'd want to do that, but most of the time that is not the case. So points, I am getting points. My current score is always 5, so it is not what we do wrong. Current score equals current score plus how many points current score is. That's what we did wrong. Why didn't somebody tell me? All right, good on you if you caught that before I did. Been a long day. All right, there we go. Now we are collecting points. It's showing up the right way. The points come through. So what we run into now, besides that we can still move way out and then fall off, is that we're not really getting as many points as we might think we should. And we can take some of these capsules too and like move them over here and like move back a little bit, and then some of the other capsules and duplicate them here at the same distance, I guess. And then we'll take this one and move it over here and move it up. I just want to offset those a little bit so that things are moving, so that it's something a little bit different. It gives you more of an idea of more of a feel of things moving. The other thing we can do too is parallax. Things in the distance move much slower, like the things out on the side. If we were going to put some other stuff out here, things on the side move much slower. Things close move much faster. If you're driving in a car and you look out the window, the backdrop is moving slowly. The bushes that you're driving past are moving very quickly. Anyway. And we could do some more stuff with that. And the main thing I want to tackle next is the coins. So we've got coins. They're doing okay. They're not great. They're kind of resetting on top of each other in some cases. It's over a little bit. I think having something where we kind of turn some of these things off and on at random would be nice. So that would be something that a game manager could also do. And so the other thing that we're going to want to do, if we're going to want to do that, is we probably don't want to destroy the game objects. Instead, what we would want to do is we would want to game object with a little g, current object the script is on, set active false. So what that will do instead, rather than just destroying it, that's going to make it false, or it's going to make is active or is enabled false, which is basically the equivalent on an individual item of clicking the button. You see it right there is turning on, turning off. What that will do is that will allow us, rather than killing everything, to turn them back on later if we want to. So right now everything's still there, and we can turn them back on. And they're still there, they're still moving around. We can go to one of these other things, turn all of its coins back on, and then we're getting something that's a little bit closer to like an actual game. So we probably still need to stop on the boundaries and some things like that. But I think getting some of these coins maybe even some of the capsules on the side to be kind of turning off and on as we go through, as we reset. I think that's gonna be good. All right, so we're gonna do that. That's not actually going to be in the game manager. I think what I want to do is I want to do it inside the floor holder. So we're going to make a game object array, and then as we move and wrap, we're going to turn some of the different things off and on. And I'll probably just put individual things rather than, you know, if all these are turned off, then enabling or disabling that does not, making it active or not, doesn't make any difference. But if we've got all the individual things in there, that'll look a little. All right, I'm gonna one last time for today's project. Okay, that, go back here. Now I'm project, and what I want to do is go into the floor holder script. So we're going to want to trigger something, I guess in either one of these, so that it works if we were going the other direction too. So let's make a public game object, make an array of game objects. Call it floor objects, I guess. And floor objects will have a variety of objects in it. And we're going to have a script here. It's just going to be void because we don't need to call it for anything else. And it's going to be called, you know, randomize objects. That's going to do. And I equals 0, I is less than floor objects length. That's how many objects are in the array, I plus plus, old school for loop. And then we're going to do, so this will run through each object. If random dot range, so I'm going to do 0, 10, it's less than 5 on any particular item. And we're going to do floor objects I set active true. Otherwise, false. Rather than just setting them true, I want to also set them false. That way, each time it cycles through, it's going to set them true or false. And I could make it go through and like set everything to true first. That's not a terrible idea. We'll see how it goes. Objects, set them active or inactive randomly. I need to set all active first. And then we will want to call randomize objects when one of these happens. The only other thing we need to do now is go and populate floor objects for each of these. Now, this is going to be one of those things that if we go back to our earliest, our very earliest piece of code that has, well, piece of code. So this, now, this scene, this script is looking for floor objects. And so, it'll still work like it did, but when it tries to reset, it's going to be like, hey, I guess it won't because there are no objects, so it's not you just have to be conscious sometimes that scripting changes you make will break an earlier version of a scene. Sometimes that's the downside. But right now, because the length of this is 0, it doesn't do anything at all, which is good. All right, so floor holder, we've got our floor and our lanes, which I don't think we want to change that. I've got all these objects from these coins and these capsules. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here. I'm going to click this lock to hold on to that. There are no objects there yet. I'm going to shift click, drag the whole thing right there, not down there, but here. And that is going to populate all the stuff in there. Now I know that gold coins 1, or 5 coins 1 and 5 coins are the holders that turn the whole thing off and on. So just drag those to the bottom. But if you want to grab a bunch of things at once, that's a good way to do it. Make sure you lock this when you start and unlock it when you stop. The other way you can do it is if I want to pause there, and I can just take individual sets of items and drag them in, and it is smart enough to just add them onto the bottom, and make sure you unlock floor holder 3. These. First method again. 5 coins is the thing I don't want, and I'm just moving them to the bottom to delete them from the bottom. You can also just change the number there. Doesn't matter. All right, let's see if that works. If that works, we'll be pretty happy. And it's going to be a pretty decent little chunk of code, I think. All right, let's try it out. We're getting points, we're getting scores. Things are resetting, things are moving. We've got some coins, we've got extra coins, we've got good coins, we've got, yeah. I don't hate it. It's not super exciting yet. There's kind of a lot missing. I think I do probably need to go turn everything on originally and then have it go through and turn things off randomly, because this is looking kind of sparse and sad. See, current score 310. That's a great score. Of course, there's nothing to actually prevent us from doing anything right now. We'll have to put in some obstacles. That might be next time. Let's see. All right. But now we've got an infinite runner game. And we don't have a reason to jump yet. We can still move outside of bounds. That's probably be the 2 key things we focus on next time, and probably putting the score up at the top as well. So I want to grab everything. I mean, there's not a lot of logic, like, hey, if the coins are here and there's coin there, it doesn't really matter. Technically, we're not like jumping on top of things at this point. Yes, we could take like one of these lanes and make it like higher. Be interesting. And is it a collider? It is a collider, so that it's gonna knock you. Nope, just gonna ride on top of it. Oh, well, look at that. I just randomly made. And see, the downside is that you can't really tell that's a ramp up or anything. So I might need to change the color of the lanes. But I guess there's your hey. Now we have now we're riding on top of things. So that is not a bad place to go. All right. So let's see. My eggs. Well, why do I live stream in the middle of the night? It is not the middle of the night where I am. It's the middle of the day. Especially until I get more views I mean, even after I did, I will probably continue to stream with what's convenient for me, because I'm not getting paid, to do this. I'm doing this to help people learn. So I'm doing the things that I know, and it's got to be convenient for me to do them. So this is our game. It's not bad. We do need some obstacles. We do need, like, originally we had like this sphere, and it moves as well. Maybe it moves and comes along. We could have it switch positions. Actually, let's do this. So let's take this sphere. The sphere moves a little bit faster. I'm going to put it inside of, let's put it inside of floor holder 1. Let's make 2 of them. We're going to make 2 of them. One is here, one there. Inside of floor holder 1, which is back there, so these need to go back. Just want to make sure everything's in the same kind of section. And now the move speed would be crazy right now because they're moving and this is moving as well. It's just a bit too much. I do want them to be faster than what's here now. Maybe like -10. That's not ridiculously faster than what we've got. And I would probably want to put, actually it's too slow, -20. And I'm going to take those 2. I'm going to make one more over here. And back a little bit. And then I'm going to add all 3 of these. So I want to 1, 2, 3, and then drag these in, which is the last way to make those changes. Call it bad damage sphere or something. And I might actually turn those off by default. So we're playing, we don't have any obstacles, we go through, it cycles through. Once it cycles through, then we have those things popping up again. We have to get past them. They're popping back a little bit. It's not cool. I hate it. I don't like it resetting. It's resetting because the one is too far back. So maybe they do need to be on their own individual track so that they're resetting at the right place. But it's a start. It's a start. It's a game. It's got a game loop. You're getting a score. You've got some obstacles to overcome. Like I said, we will have one more session. Yeah, right now, if you hit them, it doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. The other thing we could do, we could add a 3D cube that barrier. It's all crazy. I'm going to go with the middle one here. And that cube, I'll call it damage cube 0, 0, 0, which is going to position it in relation to floor holder. I don't want to make it too high because otherwise you wouldn't be able to jump over it. And then again, I want to add it to, and probably turn it off by default. Not the whole thing, just the cube. Now when that resets, again, I'd have a damage cube coming at you. These, those. Big barrier. Double jump. You don't know what's coming next. So that's kind of fun. I think these being there and then kind of popping up and going away is actually kind of interesting. is definitely not as refined a game as Subway Surfers, but it's not supposed to be either. It's supposed to be a really simple game that gives you some ideas, that shows you can build something in just a few hours. So I had to make a choice there. I had to avoid those objects to avoid getting hit by the thing. So double jump would be, I mean, right now I can infinite jump. That would be another thing to look at later, but it's okay. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for this session. Thanks for watching. Thanks for leaving comments. Let me know what you think. Hopefully this has been really helpful. I'm trying to help you think like a game developer in this one game a month series. That is my goal, to build a variety of games and let you see how they are built, why they're built, why I'm making the decisions I do. And somebody asked how much prep work I do. 0. That's not entirely true. I will put a few minutes into thinking about what I'm going to do, but I want to do most of it live. You know, the right, the wrong, the mistakes, and all of it, so that people can see all of it. So that you can see, I'm going to do this. Okay, well, now, that wasn't a great idea. And okay, I'm going to do this. Like, okay, you wouldn't always want to do this because of this, but here, it's not a big deal, so we do it anyway. Because I think that's really important. You know, I was starting out 40 years ago, programming and making games. You know, YouTube didn't exist. Internet was not around. The web didn't exist. It was hard to find help, and still, I haven't seen a lot of good resources for beginners that show how to make something simple, where somebody communicates their thought process and shows every single step. That's why I'm doing the series. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. I am Greg. SuperheroCoding.com is where you can get all the code. And